podcast, Learning to Live for Change, or L2L4C. Hope everybody is having a great week so far. I wanted to tune in and do a new segment, and this segment is going to be about solitude. Solitude is something that I actually have been on this journey for some time now. I want to say since the end of 2020. I discovered this new sense of self, and all of it is a part of mental health. As we spoke on my last segment, it was introduced in May as Mental Health Month, mental health awareness. I'm so happy that so many of us are jumping on this bandwagon and supporting one another through these trying and challenging times. As a country in general, we are facing such tragedies across our nation. And, I'm not going to get too much or too far into that. A lot of it can be centered around politics. A lot of it can just be centered around the lack of health care that's available to those who can't afford insurance or those who may not have the top or quality insurance. One thing I do want to point out is when it comes to mental health, seeing a psychiatrist or a therapist, not all the time is that resource available to every individual because they have insurance. And then we have to understand as well, there are still co-pays that are also due. And, sometimes if a person is working, every single dollar count, a lot of us, and I'm not going to just say Americans, I mean, in our world, we're unfortunately living from paycheck to paycheck, and thankful to God to be able to have the income because at the end of the day, God is our provider. But we do have to really consider the reality of having those copays adding up, whether that's your regular PCP or if that's having, a doctor of a specialist. Like I know I have a cardiologist, and the cardiologist copay is $60, and that's just for the cardiologist. And not to mention I have a PCP, you have your eye doctor, so I have my gynecologist. So there is a lot of factors that play into individuals not being able to seek mental health treatment because of certain restrictions or certain things that they may not have at their hand readily available. So, but what I discovered on this journey, again, starting in 2020, after I had my major surgery, those of you who are just following me or maybe just tuning into this segment, please go back and visit my episodes that I posted last year. Around August or September is when I actually introduced my podcast. And I talked about, even in the description of the podcast, that I'll be speaking about many different things, but it'll be tapping into the personal side of my life, starting from my fertility battle, mental health, and just my life. I'm a caregiver for my mother and have been for 8 years. My mom has dementia, so she has Alzheimer's, actually. Dementia is just the core, but there's different types of diseases or illnesses that falls under the category or the branch of dementia. So specifically, she has Alzheimer's. There's a lot of things that I talked about in previous segments or sessions. So if you can, they're not that long, go back. And, I talk about some very helpful things, again, in my fertility battle, my journey, a lot of things that us women, especially minority women, I speak a lot about Black and Spanish women who may not have also resources needed to be able to take care of some of their gynecological needs. And again, that's extremely important because, keeping up with our gynecological needs, fertility, that's what helps us produce children. So, there's a lot of women who go their entire life unable to birth or have kids, or, they struggle during their pregnancy. So, again, just having resources available to the majority of our nation is important. And as an advocate, I really hope that things turn around in our society. So, after my major surgery at the end of 2020, I actually went through my own battle where I just went into a moment of silence and solitude. So, what is solitude? Solitude is my definition of solitude, and please, you can also look it up and, to actually see what the definition is. But solitude is when you have a moment of quietness, a moment of stillness, and you're able to be with self. And it is extremely important. Now, of course, too much self, what I mean by that is when individuals go into seclusion and then they get depressed. And if you're stuck in that zone or in that way for too long of a period, then yes, of course, that can become damaging to anyone's soul and mental health. But when you have a moment of solitude where you can actually hear yourself think, you could understand your thoughts and just embrace your moment of quietness and stillness is so important. It allows you to discover a lot of things about yourself that you probably never knew, or that you question, or that you wanted to understand or get more clarity of your actions or your being, just your existence. And I find that, first, those of you who know me know in my younger days, I was a complete extrovert. I had friends. I'm talking every period of my life, I had multiple sets of friends. And, at the time it was cool. I was young, hanging out, having a good time, respectfully. But as I got to become older, thankful to God, I realized that my alone time was extremely important, more than anything. And, now I have friends now, two great friends. They're in opposite sides of towns and country, actually. One's in another country, and then another one is in another state. But we talk often, we text, we WhatsApp. And of course, I travel to go see one that's in another state, and then one comes home every 3 months. And so we hang out. And both of them I've been friends with for over 20 years. And but what I appreciate is, I never thought twice about them or either of them being in the same state with me, because as I got older, I think I've transitioned into more of an introvert. So I think I have transitioned to just be able to, and again, due to my mental health journey as well, after my major surgery, I also, not to mention, had a major and a minor surgery in 1 year. Again, all due to gynecological. Thank God, glory to God that everything was successful and that I'm well. Again, jump back on my previous episodes when I speak and talk about fertility to be able to catch up on that. But it also just put me in a state of, I was in a state of depression, and I talked about that. And that's very common for women, especially dealing with gynecological things that triggers hormones. So, ups and downs, pains, doctor visits, follow-ups. And then you go through the healing process, not to mention physically. So it's a lot. So understandably, I went through a lot of trying times. So I automatically, I guess, went into a state of solitude where, I did lots of praying. I did lots of meditation. And then as I started recovering from the surgery physically, and then my emotional and mental, health, where I was struggling, as I started to recover, I started appreciating the alone time that I had. I started realizing that there was a lot of things that I realized about myself that I may have not realized. And then I was just appreciative of just being able to spend the time to myself and be okay with that. There's a lot of individuals in the society that are not okay with spending time with self. And, it's a problem. It's a problem to me, because I think that everybody should be able to appreciate those moments and those times when you're, solo, when you're single. Of course, those who have spouses and those who, may be married, they have kids, it may be a different ball game, because it may be a struggle just to even find 5 minutes of the day. But I will tell you, research studies, statistically, therapists, any psychiatrists will let you know that it is critical and it's crucial to be able to find it. I don't care how hard it is, or it may seem, or how you may struggle to be able to find that 5 minutes to yourself. It's extremely important to do so. So I would say, try your best to be able to, find that moment in the corner, or even if it's in your car, whatever the case may be, just find that time where you can just engage with self, solitude, quietness, prayer time, meditation time. Sometimes I just lay in my bed with my candles lit, my night lights on. I may or may not listen to classical music. I've been really into classical music lately. I would highly recommend it. If anyone has not taken the time to just listen to pianists or violinists, it is just absolutely amazing. I find it being very therapeutic. And I just be in a trance. So I actually love it. And it's been very helpful for my mental health as well. And I still listen to other types of music. But I think at night when I'm calming down and relaxing and winding down, I do tend to listen to classical. And I find that becoming a habit. And I just appreciate it so much. But I advise it, women, men, this has no gender. It doesn't matter who you are, no age. I recommend solitude. I recommend you to be able to have some time to yourself. For me personally, I got a detox, and even now, even though I don't have a tremendous amount of friends like I used to, I still have my lady groups, I have tons of nieces, as you all know, nephews. My family is huge. And then my mother, of course, and, regular and frequent visits to visit her as well. But I'm telling you, there is not a week that go by where I will choose a selective day where it is my time to sleep in. It is my time to pray. I pray every day, but it's my time to spend that day in prayer. And then when I'm not in prayer, it's quiet. It's quiet and I just sit. Again, I may have my music on. I may not have my music on. I may be laying, have my candles going. But I am in solitude and it is important. So I recommend maybe, doing some research, looking up some meditation habits, prayer habits, things that you can actually engage with while you're in your moment of solitude. And just see the different responses and their different reaction and how healthy it is for the mind and for the soul. And guys, I'm telling you, in the world that we're living in today, it is so much happening around us. Tuning out of the news, tuning out of the nonsense, social media is extremely important. And don't get me wrong, I do have to tap in and tune into social media quite often because I'm either posting or I'm doing a blog or I'm doing a podcast. But more often than not, I am in solitude and I appreciate it. The times that I'm not with family, the times that I'm not with friends, and of course with my dear mother, I am in solitude. I'm in a moment, I have my moment of quietness. And I'm telling you that, I want to pray for those who feel like they can't have moments of silence or they struggle with being alone because it's a problem. And I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying that in the world we live in, you have to be able to detox and have some time to yourself. And it can become a problem if you're completely overwhelmed all the time by being around people, even your own family, even if it's your husband or if it's your wife, if it's your kids. You deserve that time for yourself, to pamper yourself and nourish your soul. So for me, this has all been a part of my mental health journey, just a moment of peace, mind of clarity, and just tapping into my inner peace. And it's been wonderful. It's been the best experience. I'm never bored. I'm never lonely. And again, I would recommend it, highly recommend it for everyone out there in this world that we live in that's so full of chaos. So anyways, guys, I just want to jump on and say hello for the week. I want to stay consistent as much as I can with my podcast. Oh, by the way, I did complete my full year, but I'm thinking about going to summer school. I'm on the dean's list. I completed that. I just won a scholarship for leadership leadership acknowledgement or advancement. But it is a leadership scholarship, and I'm very happy. They actually submitted that to me on Friday, presented that to me on Friday. So that was actually exciting news. And then my most recent class, which was strategic innovation, was very challenging, but I did complete it successfully with an A. So lots to celebrate with. And I immediately went into my moment of solitude after finishing my studies because it was a lot. So anyways, I will be tuning in soon. Again, please continue to support friends, family, loved ones, and